Hey, what's going on everybody? My name's Cast. Welcome to the Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood Q&A and character tier list. We're going to start off with the Q&A. This is going to be probably a bit of a longer video. I have quite a few questions to answer. I'll try to get to them all. This will also be a little bit more casual of a video. Like, I'm not going to try and make sure I'm articulating perfectly, otherwise I'll be here all night. So yeah, I'm just gonna take my phone and read through basically all the questions. Some of these questions might have short answers, some of them might have long answers. If I skip any, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna try not to. So I guess we can just get started, yeah? Okay, so the first question is, I want to know, what do you rank this anime? I guess like a score ranking. I do have an AniList account and I have kind of ranked Fullmetal already. It's a little bit hard for me to rank stuff. I have a hard time ranking stuff, especially because my opinions change a lot, and also with me having just finished this anime, I have a bit of a recency bias and I'm aware of that, so it might be a little bit higher now than it would be down the line, or it could even go up down the line. I don't really know yet, but right now I have this ranked as a 9.6 out of 10, which is super high. I think that puts it in my top 5 anime of all time. So needless to say, I really like Fullmetal, obviously. So yeah, that's what I got for now. What would you say is the biggest thing that you've heard, seen, or learned from Fullmetal that you've been able to apply to your own life? That's kind of hard. One thing I definitely liked about Fullmetal is its thoughts on responsibility and when to take things in your own hands versus when it's okay to accept help from other people. I think it's very practical. I think basically everybody could always refine that sort of thinking and process when you should have that level of accountability and when it would be okay to, you know, reach out to friends, reach out to family, and have them, you know, be able to lean on them some. I enjoyed that, and I've been able to maybe think a little bit more about, you know, especially on the relying on other people part. I think there's a lot of practical stuff to gain out of that. And sure, I mean, I think it's made me think about my own personal relationships I have with other people and how responsibility is involved in that. Hopefully you've seen episode 64 before reading this. I have. But do you agree with Roy taking the Philosopher's Stone since he will help Ishval? Yeah, I think there was a little bit of controversy, especially when this idea was first kind of shown to us, and I wasn't quite sure. I think it was maybe a little bit presumptuous at first to assume how you should or shouldn't use the stones, but I think they kind of developed that thought process and established that if you're going to use the souls in the stone, and if they're going to be trapped in there kind of miserable forever, you might as well use them, and you might as well use them for good. I do see a little bit of controversy in using the people, you know, the stones made from the people of Ishval, which were, you know, killed in the name of Amestris's like conquering and annexation, but, you know, using them to rebuild Amestris. But I think you could frame it in a way that now that, you know, there's a new government in control of Amestris, that you could use those souls that were lost to make the nation better for all future people. You know, I feel like one way or another they have to be used. You don't want them just trapped in there forever. So yeah, I think it's probably okay, although I'm sure different people will have different thoughts on that, and I don't see it as like a 100% pure solution, but I think it's fairly all right. Will you check out the original 03 adaptation from Fullmetal, if not as a reaction series, but maybe on your own, since after one point it's totally different from the manga and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood because it's an anime original and the early stuff? Right, so I have this question asked of me a lot, and people really want to know if I will do a reaction to the 03 anime. The truth of the matter is that as much as I do want to make a series on it or something, I do want to get to other series as well, and it's not super highly requested, and I do have to think a little bit of channel performance. But kind of where I'm at with Fullmetal 03 is that one of two things will probably happen. Either I'll be watching it on my own time and then maybe being able to share those thoughts on social media or whatnot, or I might, and this is a big might, I might do a live Twitch reaction to it. I haven't started my Twitch anime reactions just yet, so there's definitely no promises. That might be a little ways off, and I have other series that I would want to do on Twitch probably first, but it is a possibility. It is a possibility that I do 03 reactions over on Twitch. So that's kind of where I'm at with it currently, but for now there's no solid plan. If you were to choose to be a homunculi based on their powers, which one would you choose? That's actually kind of a hard one. To be honest, I have been thinking like, because I almost figured I'd get asked this question, and I've thought this question to myself, like, if I was guilty of any of the sins the most, which would they be? But that's not what the question is. The question is, which would you be based on their powers? Or which one, if I was able to choose, which one would I choose based on their powers? That's kind of difficult. I think like the initial gut reaction would be to say pride, because pride is so strong, like unbelievably strong. You don't need to be physically anybody to be pride. As long as you have control of the shadows, you can do so much with that. There's so much utility for attack, defense, and just like you could like pick stuff up and move stuff around, and you could also use it to like scout long distances, considering that Pride was able to use those tunnels and able to travel way far away from the physical body, and I think that's pretty cool. Sloth is another one that's really quite interesting with the ultimate speed and strength, but the real question with that is, if I was to get ultimate speed and strength, would my body be able to like handle that? If I was just to like fly myself into a wall or punch something like super hard, would that just like shatter my body? Like, I mean, it wouldn't be a big deal for Sloth considering he can regenerate. And I guess if I have the power, I could, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I would want to have that level of trade-off. Also, Bradley's all-seeing eye could be really quite cool. Here's a question. Would Bradley's all-seeing eye work in video games? Would it be like having wall hacks in Valorant? Like I could just see and know what the enemies are doing and I just have all the weaknesses? Yeah, probably not. But yeah, probably Pride. I think Pride is the most useful and the strongest. I have many questions, but I'll try to limit to a few, and you can choose which ones you want, okay? Question number 1, how would you explain the show to someone who hasn't seen it before? That's actually a good question. Let me think. Whenever I go about describing shows to somebody that they haven't seen, whenever I'm trying to pitch the idea, I try not to give too many details about the story, because you want to intrigue them, but you don't want to like spoil something on accident. It doesn't fall into anime tropes quite as much because it has a well-written plot, well-written characters, like pretty much every aspect that you could want out of a story, Fullmetal does, and it does well. It is a plot fairly based in reality. Of course, you have your fantasy elements like alchemy, but for the most part, it has a good basis in reality. A lot of things you can learn from it. It's well paced, so it's not like a total shonen battle anime. There's a lot of substance within it. It's basically what I would tell somebody is that if you like a story that pretty much nails every aspect and you can have some patience and you're not in it just for like fight scenes, then you should really give it a shot, because I think you'll like what it's got to offer. And if you don't like everything, you're gonna like a majority of it. The next question is Truth acting for good. Does Truth have a moral code, and does it make sense to apply morality to Truth? That's a really hard one. Truth, I would say, is something, the concept of truth in Fullmetal is probably what I have the least solid grasp on with basically everything in the show. And I have taken a quick scroll through some of these other comments here, and there is more than one question on truth. Pretty much how I feel about truth is that the way, if my understanding is correct, and I don't think that there's necessarily a concrete, solid, correct answer to what truth is in Fullmetal. Maybe there is, but to my understanding, there's not. Truth to me, the way I understand it, is truth is a bit of the entirety of everything. It's all is one is all, kind of embodied within a single being. It's a reflection of other people, and the way that I perceived it, I don't think it would be, I don't know, with morals it's hard with truth, because the way truth appeared to Ed always seemed to me that truth was the fully realized version of Ed. Ed, it is the end result of a perfect Ed, I guess you could say. Truth has ideals, I can say that. I would say, I don't know if they're necessarily good or perfect ideals, but truth definitely acted on its own accord, and it had its own thoughts. It wasn't this like completely objective, like it has a lot of opinions, I will say that. That's what it seemed to me, at least. Does truth have a moral code? It appears to be yes, at least some versions of the truth, maybe depending on who the truth appears to has a moral code, because when he talked to Father, truth was a lot less concrete in his thoughts, you know. It didn't state that I am God like it did to Ed. It said like I could be God. So I feel like whatever truth says or does, it definitely depends on the individual, which makes the question kind of hard to answer. That's what I got now. Does it make sense to apply morality? Yes and no. I don't know. It's just, it's complicated. And like I said, unfortunately, I feel like I don't have the full grasp on truth, especially with only one watch through of the show. I don't know exactly, but that's the best I can give you. What would a Mistress under Führer Mustang look like? Who would be the antagonist of that arc? I mean, here's something that I was wondering, like kind of like an offshoot of this question. What is stopping, maybe I'm just like missing a piece of the puzzle or I'm forgetting something. What is stopping another like homunculus to be born? You know, kind of like the way that one came out of von Hohenheim initially, one was born of von Hohenheim's blood. What's to stop something like that from ever happening again? So a potential antagonist, if something like that was to happen again, granted, they'd probably be a little bit more prepared for it at that point and not let the situation get nearly as out of hand. But what would a Mistress under Führer Mustang look like? So, you know, a democracy to start. That was like probably the main objective. How he deals with annexation and stuff like that. Obviously, treating people better would be something that would hopefully come along with it. Foreign relations, international relations with other countries, such as maybe like Drachma or Xing. You know, obviously it's a two-way street. It depends on those nations as well. But hopefully a Mistress would not be like this isolated military state who is hostile to all of their neighbors and all of that. Foreign relations will be better. And I think there's definitely ways to do that. I mean, they're going to have a good relationship with Xing, at least I would hope, with Ling Yao now being the emperor. So that would be cool. I would definitely like to see almost like a slice of life spinoff. That'd be fun. What would it take for Pride to coexist with the Mestrians peacefully and happily? Miss Bradley is not immortal, and Pride would be profoundly alone as the last of the homunculi. This might be once again my misunderstanding, but this question is phrasing it as the fact that Pride as a homunculi still exists, but that's not what I thought happened. I thought that whenever Ed reached into Salim and pulled out like the fetus, that was just like the human that Pride was initially using as a host. Like the thing that he pulled out is no longer, well, I guess he is still a homunculus, because in the final episode, I don't know, the whole Pride situation confused me and what happened there. Like I thought that at first that thing that he pulled out was just like a human fetus and would grow up to be a normal human. But what would it take, like, I guess assuming that this question is correct, what would it take for him to coexist peacefully and happily? Pride would need to be benevolent in a way that he sees the bright side of humanity and not the bad side, wanting the, you know, existence to be a positive one, not using that immortality and the knowledge that would come with being immortal to be, you know, use it wrong. I don't know. It would be a journey for him on his own, I would think. There would be a lot of acceptance of death, considering Miss Bradley, obviously, like you said, isn't immortal and wouldn't last forever. That would be an interesting journey, to say the least, and I don't know if there's an answer. I think he would have to find it himself. I mean, I think that's a journey we're all on anyways, trying to figure out a way to live peacefully and happily, right? And with meaning and with time. And it would be a lot harder to do whenever you have an infinite amount of time. In your FMAB openings reaction video, you mentioned that people you hold in high regard to anime taste describe watching the show as causing one to change the way one views this medium / anime in general. To what extent do you hold this now to be true? I don't even remember what I said in my openings reaction video, but I mean, I think that would be true, because I think this anime does things a lot differently than other anime, and in a really bold and brave way. I mean, this is such a popular shonen show. I mean, it's one of the most watched anime of all time, and considering it still, despite that popularity, does so much different and has a lot of respect for not only itself but for the viewers watching it, I think it's respectable. I think there's a lot that I think it just, I almost get a different level of respect from it, from the story, from the characters. It doesn't need to mindlessly bend to fan service at any point. It doesn't need to pull any punches at other points. I mean, maybe a little bit, considering it's, you know, not super ultra mature. It is a shonen, but like, I think episode 4 full well established that it doesn't need to pull its punches too much. I just think it knows what it wants to be, and it is what it wants to be without really any regrets. And I like that a lot. I think most people that have, you know, I think of course taste is objective or subjective. Taste is subjective, but you know, anybody with an ounce of taste would agree that this is a very, very solid show and would be just in general a very positive influence on one's mindset of anime in general. So I think it holds to be true. One of the major themes of Elements is extremes of religion, science, power, military, and even knowledge, the consequences of them. Which one of these stood out most to you? Okay, well, I think they all play some level of relevance. Probably the extreme of power is a really generally like broad and applicable thing throughout the show. You know, you have the actual power of stuff like military and alchemy, you know, kind of one beating the other. Survival of the fittest is kind of portrayed by some characters. Might makes right is something that some characters believe in. And then you have the other idea, especially with Father himself pursuing the ultimate power, the power of like godhood and stuff. And then the prices that come with that. I mean, he said it best himself, that people that are arrogant enough to try to bring down God or whatever are gonna have to pay that steep price. I mean, there's so much. I think almost every character has some struggle of power, maybe not all in the same way, but power and powerlessness all definitely apply, and to some very extreme degrees. Who would win in a fight, Ed or Aang? Death Battle has an animation. I don't really know. I mean, it's been a long time since I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. I watched it as a kid growing up. It was just on TV. I don't really remember too much of it, to be honest. Probably Aang, if I would, especially like in the Avatar state or whatever. I mean, he could do a lot, but I don't know. Maybe it comes down to wit and moral. I mean, if they just fought, I mean, neither of them would want to kill each other. I know that for sure. So I don't think they would fight. But yeah, probably Aang. But I don't know, depends, especially if Ed no longer has alchemy, then he definitely wouldn't win. Are there any aspects of the show you disliked or wish had more depth to them? I think the start of the show was a bit rushed compared to the 2003 version. So, I mean, obviously I haven't seen the 2003 version. I didn't feel that the beginning was rushed at all. I think it actually started, I think the whole way through it maintained a really good pace. Sometimes I wish more things were explored in depth, I admit, like specifically characters. Like I think there were some side characters that I found personally really interesting that sort of showed up and did some stuff, but eventually kind of faded into the background. For example, just off the top of my head, Miles. I think Miles was a really cool character, especially like in the 30s, like mid to late 30s in the episodes. Those were really cool, and Miles had my attention whenever he was on screen to like a really high degree. But you know, I get that they can't show and spend tons of time with every single character, but I mean, I did feel like I wanted more from Miles. But I mean, any complaints that I have about the show are pretty minor. Any aspects of the show that you dislike, none really stand out to me, and I mean that. I don't really think I have anything that strikes me as like, oh, I don't like this part of it or anything. It just, yeah, sometimes I wish we had a little more detail or a little more answers on some things, but just in general, not really. I think actually, you know, I'm doing a character tier list after this, so I might dive into it a little bit there, but I think Father himself actually could have been explored in more details, and a few of the sins as well. In general, no, I'm pretty content with how the show went. Marry, bang, kill, Riza, Winry, Olivier. Trying to get me in trouble. You're really trying to get me in trouble here. Okay, first off, if you think I could even attempt to kill Riza or Olivier, I think you're very wrong. They would kill me way faster than I could ever kill them. Not that I'd ever want to anyway. I would not kill any of them, straight up. Marry, bang, kill. Marry. Which one would I want to marry? Probably Winry. I mean, she just seems like a little bit more my type. I guess she's just nice. I like nice people. Okay, and Riza's nice, of course, but maybe a little more stern than I like. So maybe I'll put Riza in one of the other categories. I'll let you be the judge of that. Olivier would be wild. I'm just gonna leave it at that. All right, next question. Best character arc, favorite episode, and how is your heart? Best character arc, I'm gonna save that for the character tier list. I'll reveal who I have as my favorite character arc. Favorite episode, that is incredibly difficult. Quite a few come to mind, and for different reasons. I think episode 40 with Hohenheim's backstory with the dwarf and the flask was really good, and it's one of like the most like standalone episodes to me in a way. Do I think it's necessarily the best? I don't know. Episode 64 has a very special place in my heart because it's a really fantastic finale to an anime, which is not something that you get very often. Episode 59, another one that I just recently edited for YouTube. Really incredible episode. Like, it's the episode where Roy goes blind from the transmutation, where Al leaves behind his body. I mean, there's so much that happens happens in that. Like every single moment of episode 59 is just completely and utterly important. That's when Bradley reappears as well. Scar does some stuff with Bradley as well. It's really hard to pick out a favorite. I'm really bad at picking favorites, but those are a few that jump out to me initially, at least. How is your heart though? It's good. It's good and it's fulfilled. I'm happy with how it ended. What's the saddest death in the anime in your opinion? Thank you for the reaction videos. I watched the show 10 times and you made me realize some things. It was a great journey. First off, thank you very much. I appreciate that. The saddest death in the anime in your opinion? Probably either Nina and Alexander, just because it's unbelievably cruel and it's kind of self-evident for why that's sad. I would think Maze Hughes would be maybe the saddest to me, because first off, I absolutely love Maze Hughes and the OVA that I watched made me love him even more. The fact that we lost him only 10 episodes in sucks. I really wish we got more of him, and to see what happened to his family as well, just how they had to deal with it, the mother remaining strong and the little girl not having a father anymore. Yeah, it's really sad, and you feel the effects of that death throughout the whole show. So final answer, probably my boy Maze Hughes. I'm interested if you're planning on watching the FMAB OVAs. There's 4 in total and they're all pretty short. I think you'd really enjoy them. So kind of interesting answer. First off, Yet Another Man's Battlefield, which I believe is OVA 3, I have watched, and it is on the Patreon as a Patreon exclusive. It was posted after episode 30, so if you're going to go back, look between 30 and 31, you'll have that OVA reaction. As far as the other ones, I have seen one of them off reaction. I watched the one with Izumi and sort of her backstory with meeting Sig, and I love that one. That was cool. As far as the other two, the OVAs in general haven't been super highly requested besides the one that I did watch on video. So I don't have any plans on watching them for a video. I definitely might and probably will watch the other ones on my own though. So yeah. How much time did you spend waiting between episodes, and did you ever feel anxious while waiting for the next recording, especially near the end? Usually about a week. I record 1 episode a week, post 1 episode a week. I spend a good amount of time editing and doing all that other stuff, so I can't do too many at once. Do you ever feel anxious waiting for them? Yes. Every single one of them. Do you know how hard it is to wait a week? I mean, if it wasn't the fact that I wasn't recording, I would have probably binged this entire series in like 2 days. I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm not somebody that binges anime either, so yes, it was very hard to wait. But I'm actually, just in general, I do enjoy spacing out the episodes because it does give me time to digest the information and think about it a little bit more, and it also makes the payoff in the end quite nice. Like having a longer journey with something, I feel, is almost always more sentimental and satisfying than just doing a binge, so I try to avoid binging stuff if possible. What do you think of Truth, a major player that is present throughout the series but doesn't have an overbearing role in the hero's journeys? In terms of role in the story / narrative, what is the most interesting moments and dialogue with the Truth throughout the story? So I'm actually going to have to disagree with you there. I think Truth does have a particularly overbearing role in the hero's journeys. Just because he's not on the screen does not mean that he is not, you know, ever present, because he is the backbone of the entire story. He is what Father is reaching out to. He is the catalyst for putting Ed and Al on their journey, as well as Izumi. Truth is really the backbone of everything. So, I mean, overbearing in a term of like presence in the story, absolutely. It is a major player. You're not really wrong, major player, but right. So what is the most interesting moment, and what do you think? The most interesting moment is either the confrontation between Truth and Father, or Truth at the very end when Ed comes back into the portal and gives Truth the answer that Truth was looking for. I think that was probably my favorite moments. What do you think in general? I sort of answered that earlier with the earlier question. Tough question, because like I said, my thoughts on Truth aren't complete. Very cool element to the story though, and I want to know more. And that's like whenever I do rewatch the series, which I'm definitely going to rewatch the series, I'm going to be putting a lot more time and thought into focusing on Truth's role in the story, because I feel like there's a lot there that I don't have yet. Fun question: if you performed human transmutation, what do you think you would lose? Maybe a physical trait and an emotional trait could be interesting to think about. What would I lose? Probably my tongue, or like my ability to talk. I'm somebody that's very vocal and I express stuff and I enjoy communicating with others, but I just feel like if you're gonna take something from me, the most cruel thing would be to take my ability to voice my thoughts. You know, I'm somebody like, not to get too sentimental or too depressed, but I'm somebody that has always dealt with like some level of loneliness throughout my life. I feel like I've never had too many people to talk to growing up, and even especially as an adult. So being able to take my one avenue of really expressing myself, whether it's through a video or just to other people in general, that would suck. Yeah, that would suck. That's probably what I would lose. An emotional trait, probably just like curiosity or being inquisitive, you know, not really thinking about things in detail would kind of rob a lot of depth from my life and like aspirations for doing better and getting better. Yeah, that would suck for sure. Not a very fun answer to a fun question, but I think it's true. I think it's pretty accurate. Favorite homunculi throughout the show and best homunculi death. I'll save the first part for the tier list. Best homunculi death, probably Lust. I actually really enjoyed the whole Roy versus Lust moment. Probably one of my favorite fight scenes throughout the whole show. Favorite side character in the show, one you like seeing interact with the main cast, and the favorite thing about side characters in general. Again, character tier list. Some of that will be saved for that. Let's see. Favorite thing about side characters in general, I feel like the side characters were given a lot of respect. A lot of anime media storytelling in general, I think of like almost an RPG side quest, right? You talk to somebody who might have a certain job or a specific purpose in a show, right? To either further a character's something or other, but I feel like in Fullmetal, the side characters are fleshed out to a degree that you feel like they're not just avenues for a purpose, but they are actual people, right? They have their own emotions, their own dreams. They have so much to them. I think that's something that's also, I know not everybody's watching Haikyuu with me, but that's another thing I really like about Haikyuu, is that even though you would think that these characters maybe on another team would be side characters and just not that important, no, they feel like real people. So that's my biggest praise that I could give for a side character, and it definitely applies to Fullmetal. What was your favorite type and use of alchemy? And if you could specialize in one field of alchemy, what would it be? I really liked the what is his name, Bosque Grand. Whenever he was in episode like 5, he like hit the ground and a bunch of like massive cannons came out of the ground and shot cannonballs. That was really, really damn cool. I also like whenever Ed Al Hohenheim used like a dragon and like rode it around. That was pretty cool. I really like that. If you could specialize in one field of alchemy, what would it be? Maybe like water or something. Like Isaac the Freezer's was pretty cool. A lot of practical use with that. I don't really know though. It's a good question. I'm not quite sure. Alchemy doesn't have to be offensive, like you said. I don't know. I'm not sure what would be that could there be like some sort of like modern tech alchemy? Like you could do stuff with tech. That might be interesting. I don't know how you could use that, but it might be useful in today's day and age. You have a lot of questions. Who do you think deserves MVP of the series? Maybe top 3. Okay, I'll give you a top 3 just off the top of my head. Hohenheim, Scar's brother, and probably Dr. Marco. I'm gonna give those 3 series MVP. They all did a lot. I mean, Hohenheim and Scar's brother were literally the backbone in bringing everybody back to life after Father completed the transmutation circle. So how could you not give them MVP when they saved the entire country? Especially Scar's brother, who didn't even have a name, but was so completely important in the backbone of the whole story, who died before the story even really began for us. Definitely MVP. Dr. Marco, again, really underrated character. I like Dr. Marco quite a lot. What was the hardest episode to record/watch? Episode 63, without a doubt. I don't see many opinions on this, but what do you think of Trisha Elric? What she symbolizes in the story for the boys in Hohenheim from the little that we saw of her. Whenever I think of her, my mind goes to the interlude party and her speech there. Same. Her role in the interlude party episode 27, was easily the highlight of that episode to me. Probably one of the most emotional like speeches in the entire anime, actually, easily. I really like Trisha. I mean, once again, you know, she was dead before our story really began, and we didn't get that much of her, but obviously she was super, super important for both Hohenheim and the boys. So I love Trisha. Yeah. What food do you think that Al ate first from his list? Obviously, Winry's apple pie. I believe it was an apple pie. Whatever pie that Winry made, definitely, because we saw it on the table in the final episode whenever Ed and Al came back to Winry at home, and he said the first thing he wanted to eat was the pie. So definitely that. Overall, did the show meet your expectations? Did it exceed them? what would be the best and the worst aspects of the show? Yeah, I mean, definitely met my expectations and definitely exceeded them in a lot of ways. I don't really want to go into full detail because I'll be here forever gushing about everything the show did right. It's really hard to find what the show did wrong. Rather than talking about like specifics, I think the best aspects of the show are the pacing and once again the respect in the storytelling that it does to both the viewers and especially to itself. It didn't pander, it didn't fall into tropes very hard, and it gave a lot of substance for something that was on the surface maybe not even necessarily that deep. Like it's a show that I think almost anybody can enjoy because whatever level of storytelling you're going in for, it can meet that, right? Like if you don't want something that deep, it can just be a show about the boys getting their body back and the challenges and trials that they're, have to face along the way. But obviously, if you're somebody that's more, analytical or whatever, kind of like I try to be, there's a lot there for me as well. Every single character has thoughts and emotions and their own role in the story. There's so much depth in the character and the overall world building and the plot. I mean, there's really just something there for everybody. If I was to pick anything that it did worse, I have a few gripes about a few individual characters, but I'll talk a little bit more about that once I get to the characters. But I mean, overall, not too much did wrong, really not too much. Is there one way in which FMAB's lessons have affected you and your worldview in a durable way, changed the way that you see or value certain things? Kind of a question that I answered earlier with the whole responsibility thing. I wouldn't say that there's anything that I found to be like truly profound to me, like something I've never thought of before, or like a way of thinking that I never, interpreted. So it wasn't like some revolution in any way, but it was more of like a solid reminder and having really satisfying payoffs for mentalities that I agree with. It's just kind of reinforces a lot of the ways I like to think in some, in some ways or another. So yeah, I mean, change the way you see or value certain things, maybe not, just reinforces. Can you do a deep dive on the actual meanings behind each person's door of truth, having different signs on them and different personal interpretations on what these designs mean? I don't have time to do a deep dive on anything like that. I think it's very interesting. I don't know what everyone's doors were because quite frankly, I don't remember what every symbol means. I think it's really cool that they do have individuals. Maybe I'll take my own time to do that, but I don't have time to do that in a video. Although I will say that it's really quite fascinating how Father's portal of truth was blank. I think there's a lot of meaning in that for sure. This is one of my favorite shows out there, and I still don't know the answer to this question, so I will ask you. Do you want more anime of FMAB, either a continuation or another story in the universe? I think this show has a perfect ending, so I don't want it to be ruined by continuing it, but at the same time, I want more because it's so good. What's your opinion? I think it can go either way. If you ask me if I think there needs to be some like canon official continuation, I would say probably I lean on the side of no, but I think you could have a number of spin-offs that are a little bit more lighthearted and a little bit less serious. Like for instance, Roy's journey of leading the country, maybe Ling Yao's journey of leading his country. Granted, we don't have as much info on Xing, so all that would have to be developed. Maybe some stuff on Armstrong, on the Armstrong family. Maybe Ed and Al's like continuation after all of this is said and done. I mean, there's definitely a ton of really fun, more lighthearted spin-offs that I think would be totally great. So, oh, and one on Scar. Like I want Scar. I want more Scar. Please just give me any spin-off with Scar and I'll watch it. A lot of others have asked questions I was going to ask, so I'll ask you, who else do you think could have defeated Bradley? Whether he was in a peak condition for the first time or injured like he was with Scar. Just fun to play around with the idea. Not many people could have defeated Bradley. Maybe like some sins, like maybe Pride could have, maybe Sloth could have, maybe. I mean, like any of the homunculi probably could have had a chance considering they're immortal and Bradley's not really immortal. So they could have, I think Mustang could have maybe put up a good fight, but that would probably be a matter of closing the distance. I think Roy at distance could eviscerate Bradley. I don't think Bradley would stand a chance, but if Bradley got close enough to hit Roy before Roy could, use his alchemy, then it would probably be Bradley's fight. Not many other people come to mind, especially on the good guys side of being able to beat Bradley. Probably not. All right, we are on the last question. What does it mean that Hohenheim's blood was used to create the dwarf in the flask in the first place? That is a great question because I don't really know. I mean, we were told that it happened, but we didn't get anything more from it unless I don't really know. Like, I don't know. I don't know what would prevent it from happening again with somebody else. I mean, it may not create the same dwarf in the flask with the same ideologies or motivations or anything, but there is nothing to say that it couldn't happen again. Can the two even be separated, or is the dwarf in the flask a mirror to Hohenheim's subconscious in a way, as it didn't spring into existence from nothing? I don't think we could really know the answer to that question. I feel like, to me, the dwarf doesn't seem like a reflection of his subconscious to me. Like, I don't feel like I saw a lot of Hohenheim in that dwarf. I think Hohenheim, back when he was slave 13 or 23 or whatever he was, I didn't really see Hohenheim back then as like a very malicious person. He was just kind of living his life. I mean, obviously he's a slave, so he would have had some negative stuff going on with him, of course, but not nearly to the degree that the dwarf was. So could I really say that he was a reflection? I don't know. The real question is, and this is something you guys can let me know, do you think another one could happen? Do you think it could happen again? Whether or not they'll be prepared for it is a different question. I think they'll definitely be a lot more prepared for it. They wouldn't make the same mistakes, but yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. All right, now we are going to do the much anticipated character tier list. This is a tier list I found. I didn't make this myself, but it looks like it has a good amount of characters. I didn't scan through all of them individually, but I did sort of create my own bracket on how I want them to be scored. I'll actually zoom in just a little bit. So we have S tier, the best of the best. S tier, love them. A tier, fantastic. Enjoyed, meh, and didn't like. And then some of these characters, I probably won't rank each one of these because, for example, like, I don't even really know this guy's name. I know he's there and he's in the background. I don't have like a concrete opinion on him per se, you know, like I don't know him as a person, as a character that much. Seems like a cool guy. I think you could also apply this to somebody like Denny, for instance, wherever he is in this. Like, do I really know? Yeah, right here. Do I really know Denny? Like, Denny's cool, but I don't feel like I want to rank them the same. So some of the characters might fall into this, but it's not that I didn't like them. It's just, you know, I want to keep the tier list quiet. You know what I'm trying to say? I think you know what I'm trying to say. Okay, who do I want to start with? Who would be an easy, quick one to start with? How about Maria Ross? So Maria Ross was a character that, while they were not like a main character by any degree, she was really cool. I got very excited every time I saw her on screen. From her personality, she seemed really quite lovely. I enjoyed Maria Ross quite a bit, so I'm gonna put Maria in A tier for fantastic. Definitely deserves that spot, I think. Let's see, who else? I don't want to jump straight into like the characters I've got super deep thoughts on just yet. I want to work my way into that. Let's pick probably the easiest one to rank out of all of them. Shao Tucker. I mean, do you need me? I don't need to say anything. It's perfect. It's perfect for what I'm trying to do. I don't need to say much about him, so we're not going to say much about him. Easily probably the worst character in the series. Not particularly from a character writing perspective. I think he was actually an interesting character, but like as a personal opinion, by the way, let me just state that I have a hard time ranking stuff because sometimes a part of me wants to rank how objectively good they were, and another part of me wants to rank how much I personally enjoyed them. This is mostly on a personal enjoyment list. So Shao Tucker, like, if you ask me as a character, yeah, you know, served a purpose, but he's not going to get above the bottom tier. So that's just that. Lan Fan. I'm going to put Lan Fan in the same tier as Maria Ross. Lan Fan, fantastic. Her role with Ling Yao was always heartwarming, and it was always sad too. I think she played a really good role in the story without being too overbearing. She didn't give me enough to make her like my absolute favorite character, but she was still good. I enjoyed every moment we got with her, so she goes right in A tier along with Maria Ross. I guess since we're on Lan Fan, we will also grab Fu. Fu, I don't know. I think Fu is either B or A tier. I think I'm gonna put him in B because while I did like him as a character, and I think his moment in which he went out was really nice, I don't think I felt like a particular super attachment to him as a character. I just enjoyed him, you know? I feel like saying that I enjoyed Fu as a character is accurate. I wouldn't say he was fantastic, but he was a good character. I don't know, I feel a little bit unfair. Like, I feel like he should be where Lanfan is, but Lanfan was cute. Okay, personal bias. All right, let's pick out a homunculus. Which homunculus do I want? Something easy, something simple. How about gluttony? Gluttony, actually this one's not so simple. Gluttony was a really interesting character because on the surface there is nothing to really like about Gluttony that much. His power was disturbing but quite cool. I'm gonna put Gluttony in B tier because while part of me might want to like move him down a little bit, I think his relationship with lust was quite nice. Actually, it was something different out of the homunculi, but obviously not somebody that I enjoyed as like a personality too much, but definitely had a presence on the screen that I can respect, and gave way to that whole inside the belly arc, which was kind of neat in itself. Definitely not one of my favorite homunculi though, for sure. All right, let's pick out a character I really like. You know what? Let's just go with my boy Alex Louis Armstrong, and it's gonna be of no surprise to you guys. Alex Louis Armstrong has got to be in the best of the best. While not being the particular like main character or story driver, easily one of my favorite side characters. I think he had a really, and you know, like jokes aside and just like personal bias aside, he did have a really nice character arc of being the coward in Ishval to overcoming his fear, mending his relationship with his sister, who I'm going to get to soon. I mean, he developed a lot as a character, so I don't think this ranking is completely unfounded. I think Alex is awesome. His voice actor was awesome. I have nothing I would have ever changed about Alex, besides maybe giving him more screen time. Von Hohenheim. Von Hohenheim's a very interesting character because for the first 40 or so episodes, we really didn't get that much of him. We saw a little bit in the interlude party episode, and then a little bit here and there, just sprinkles of Hohenheim. But I think as the story progressed, especially at the very end, he kind of won me over. Von Hohenheim goes in S tier. While not always the best father, he was a loving father when it counted, I suppose. I enjoyed Von Hohenheim's character a lot, and I feel like this is a character that on my rewatches could easily move up. Let's take the main man himself, Edward Elric. Really no surprise to anybody. Ed is S tier. It's hard to like sit here and sing all the praises of a character like Ed because I've talked about him for 64 episodes throughout the show. There's so much nuance that went into him. A really fantastic main character. Not much I would have ever changed about him. He had so many interesting dynamic thoughts. He had development. And like, what's not to love about Ed? Seriously, what's not to love? I mean, no matter what kind of character you even like in the first place, Ed was strong, but he was also empathetic. You know, he just had so much nuance to him that it's like there's nowhere else for him on this tier list besides at the top. And I feel the same way about Alphonse. I mean, I have to rank them together. In fact, I think I even like Alphonse more than Ed. I mean, Alphonse is the most perfect boy in anime. Like, he's up there with like Mob from Mob Psycho as like the most wholesome, but also just the coolest, one of the coolest characters. Such a amazing character. For a good portion of the show, Alphonse was probably my favorite character, and yeah, I think I can confidently say Alphonse was my favorite character for a good portion of the show, and he still is one of my favorite characters. Trisha Elric. Again, Trisha was somebody that I think is a fantastic character. Kind of like I answered in the Q&A, she wasn't in the story a whole lot, but her presence was felt in the story, and the moments that we did get with her were really quite awesome, and I liked her quite a lot. I don't know if these are in particular order, by the way. Maybe they are, maybe, I don't know. Don't take this all too concretely, but Trisha's definitely somebody that was fantastic in the small time we got with her. General Grumman. Sergeant Grumman, Major Grumman. I still don't know military ranks. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I can't remember them. Grumman was, he was all right. Yeah, I mean, he was all right. I'm gonna have to put Grumman in C tier. I think the whole episode, what was it, like 30 or 31 or 32 or something, whenever he dressed as a woman and like went to meet, you know, Roy Mustang, I thought that was kind of funny. I did dislike him, but I don't really feel one way or another about him personally. He kind of reminds me of like Darius from Attack on Titan, Exactly, whatever his name is. Yeah, except a little bit more, has his head on a little bit more straight, but just, you know, an eccentric old man that played his part. So yeah, I mean, he was fine. He was fine. Let's grab one of the pairs of chimeras. Let's grab Zampano and Jerzo. I'm gonna put Zampano and Jerzo in characters I enjoyed. I think I have partial bias against Jerzo because I don't like the chimera form that he had. Like spitting on everything is kind of gross. Cool character, right? Like I'll put them above. I'll put them above Gluttony. Cool characters, serve their purpose in the show, but you know what? I guess while we're at it, we'll grab the other pair of chimeras, Heinkel and Darius, in which I'm going to put them one tier higher, especially Heinkel. I really like Heinkel. Heinkel was my favorite chimera in the show. I'll just say that. I'm gonna put him like all the way at the top of A tier. They were very cool. I like that pair a little bit more. I'm not quite sure. I mean, they have their purpose in the show, but I thought it was interesting how quite consecutively they introduced two different pairs of chimeras. Like that was an interesting writing choice. It worked. It totally worked, but definitely these guys were a little bit better. I think Heinkel definitely stood out with his interaction with Alphonse and the fact that he actually really delivered the killing blow to Kimberly, which is kind of crazy considering, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, definitely a side character, you know? I really like these two a lot, and they had a lot of individual personality as well. I just remember the time when they were running from the military, like driving away in the cars, or whenever they're traveling with Greedling, you got to see a lot of their humor, a lot of them personally. It was really nice. Let's grab another homunculus. Let's do Lust this time. Lust is an interesting one because Lust is a character I haven't seen since episode 19, which is so long ago. And you know, you didn't really feel Lust's impact throughout the rest of the story, with the minor exception of the fact of her final line being to Roy that, you know, she'll see his eyes wide with fear and agony or whatever. That was definitely somewhat relevant with the envy thing and with the portal of truth. Lust is an interesting one. I'm gonna put her in A tier, low A tier, because while I enjoyed her, also Laura Bailey as a voice actress, yes, so good, so good. The only reason she's not going to be higher is because she wasn't in the story for that long. So gonna put her in A tier pretty confidently. Great while she was here, but ultimately wasn't here long enough in my opinion. I'm gonna drag some of these chimera that was in the original Greed's squad. I'm gonna drag them into no opinion because while they were cool, we didn't get them for more than an episode, so you know, can't really give too much opinion on them. But the original Greed, this is Greed 1. Greed 1, I'm gonna put him in high enjoy. Once again, a big part of the reason is because he was there for a maximum of 2 episodes before he was killed, but definitely a cool character while he was still around and kind of established a lot of the basis on a lot of things. So yeah, I can't put him too much higher, but definitely cool while he was there. All right, next up, I am going to pick Olivier Mira Armstrong. Olivier, wow, what a character Olivier is. It's kind of a hard one, but I think I'm gonna put Olivier in S tier. Not quite as high as her brother, admittedly, but Olivier, a fantastic character, a strong, unbelievably strong woman. Just how many praises could I sing for Olivier as a character? Tough as nails, but also a heart of gold. You know, she cared about her men respected her. There's actually really so much to say. I've said a lot of it before throughout the episodes, but there's just almost endless praises to sing about her. Yeah, she deserves this. She deserves this ranking for sure. How about Barry the Chopper? Interesting character, gotta say. Barry the Chopper, again, didn't last that long in the story, was not there for too long, but I can confidently say that I enjoyed Barry the Chopper, probably even more than Gluttony. You know, kind of a weird character, maybe not the best written. I think if anything, Barry was one of the less well-written characters in the show, but at the same time, had a surprising amount of depth as he journeyed with the crew. Some interesting ways, and I gotta admit, I felt the tiniest bit sad whenever Barry went. So Barry's gonna go in like a more mid tier. I enjoyed him. I didn't feel meh. I enjoyed him. Next up, let's grab. Can I grab Rose? Does Rose deserve a ranking, or does she go in no opinion? I think Rose is okay. I'm gonna put her in meh. She was cool. Like, she had some interesting dialogue and an interesting role in the story. Again, I didn't dislike her or anything, but I might not put her quite as high up, just because, again, she was a very minor character overall. We're not gonna rate Nina and Alexander. We're not gonna do it. Stop it. We're not gonna do it. Next up is gonna have to be Ling Yao. Oh, Ling Yao, what a wonderful man you are. Ling Yao goes in SS tier. Definitely one of the best of the best. Todd Haberkorn, fantastic voice actor. Ling Yao, just a really sick character, and was with us for a long time, really. Episode 15 all the way to the end in one form or another. I don't really want to spend all my time gushing about these characters, but just know if they're up here, I could easily rant for an hour or two on their own about how much I love each one of these characters. I don't think anybody is going to disagree with me on him. I mean, I think Ling is probably a good majority of people's favorite characters, so SS tier, Ling Yao. How about Panako? Panako, this is young Panako, but I'm gonna go Panako overall. Enjoyed her character. Although I don't think we actually saw what happened to Panako in the end. Am I crazy? Like, after everything was said and done, we didn't get Panako in the after credits or like in anything. Wait, what happened to Panako? Did she like, don't tell me something bad happened to Panako. Like, what happened to her? Where's the answers, Full Metal? Tell me. I need the canon explanation of what happened to Panako. I'm gonna put her in B tier though. I'm gonna put her above these guys. Sergeant, Major, General, Colonel, Miles, whatever rank you are. Miles. I'm gonna actually, believe it or not, put Miles in a very high A tier. The only reason that Miles isn't actually getting higher is because I feel like Miles is one of the few characters in the show that I felt like could have and should have been explored maybe a little bit more. I absolutely adored everything that we got of Miles. So really my only complaint is that we didn't get more. Really cool that in the end he was working with Scar. But yeah, I mean, overall, great guy, great thoughts. Some of the most provoking thoughts in the show, some of the best dialogue too. Love Miles, love his relationship with Scar, with Olivier, just his general thoughts on the world and on the military and his place. Miles felt like a character with an unbelievable amount of purpose, which is incredible that was established so fast with as little time as we got with him. I guess while we're on characters that I feel could have and maybe should have been explored a little bit more, or felt was maybe a little bit underwhelming, I'm gonna have to actually take the pick of Salim Bradley, aka Pride. Salim is a character that's gonna have to actually go in B tier, which might be a little bit of a surprise because conceptually Salim is probably one of the best of all the homunculi. Like, design wise, awesome, from like, you know, being Salim Bradley to also just like all the eyes and the shadows. All of that is so damn cool, but I think Salim's role in the story to me was maybe a little bit confusing. I think shown by the fact that I don't really understand what happened in episode like 60 or 61 or whatever it was. Whatever happened to Salim in the end, I didn't really understand. I think great build up to Salim in the story. I just feel like maybe there could have been some choices, I don't know what, that maybe definitely would have allowed me to enjoy Salim more. But from a design standpoint, S tier, but as how much I enjoyed Salim, not quite as much. Almost one of the few characters I can say kind of maybe disappointed me a little bit. All right, how about we pick out Colonel Roy Mustang? I know he's Colonel, or now I guess Fuhrer in the end. Once again, no surprise to anybody, I'm gonna have to put Roy in probably SS tier. Maybe I would have liked Roy a little bit more to be one of my favorite characters, but I think there was actually a bit of a lack of him in some sections of the show. Obviously, he got a lot more screen time on the second half of the show, but Roy Mustang, fantastic character, really cool. Again, maybe his presence could have been felt a little bit more in the earlier half of the show. Also, being able to see him fight a little bit more would have been maybe kind of cool, but with him being so unbelievably strong, he kind of would have just decimated everybody the whole time. So I can see why he didn't get to fight everybody. And I guess while we're on him, we're gonna go with Riza. And how could I not put these two together? In fact, I mean, I like Riza actually as a character more than Roy, to be honest. Oh, Riza. Probably one of the most shook I had been in the entire show is when Riza got her throat slit, and I thought, like, yeah, she might actually die. That was probably one of the most, like, mentally damaging parts. I love Riza to damn death. Probably, maybe my favorite female character. Actually, second favorite, probably. But yeah, no, Riza. She's awesome, okay? Like, how do I talk about each one of these characters? Like, I love them. That's it. Why didn't these two get married in the end? I mean, they probably did, just off screen, but damn it, show it to me. Favorite female character, Winry. Winry is an absolute angel. I'm so glad that Winry and Ed, you know, everything worked out in the end. Oh man, what a character. I mean, just from her storylines with Ed and Al, her relationship with like Scar and everything that happened with her parents, they did not miss a beat at all with Winry. I mean, just an absolute fantastic character. Super good. Favorite female character for sure. All right, next up is Buccaneer. Buccaneer was a character that I did not expect to warm my heart as much as he ended up warming my heart. Really, he didn't. Like, he would have been a character I just kind of like enjoyed throughout most of it, but in his final episodes, a fantastic character. Like, I'd put him actually right under Miles, believe it or not. Buccaneer is such a goddamn man. Like, how could anybody disagree? What an absolute Chad. I'm actually easily one of the saddest deaths in the show. Seriously, I would have liked to see more of him, and I wanted, this guy deserved, I think if anybody, this guy deserved a good life after all of it was said and done. It was taken too fast, unfortunately. Great character though. Really a surprise for me, actually. Speaking of characters that really deserved better, Maze Hughes. Maze Hughes is an S tier character, and I have no reservations about saying that. And I know somebody in the comments just immediately they thought like, but Cast, you said that some characters would be higher if they got more screen time, like Lust or whatever, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I know I said that, but I also said that Maze Hughes' impact, even though he died in the first 10 episodes, was felt throughout the entire show. He was the backbone of so much of Mustang's character. He had so much, like, you know, 10 episodes is all I needed, okay? 10 episodes is all I needed for me to love this man, and the OVA just made me love him even more. I don't have to explain myself to you. I love Maze Hughes, and damn it, he was the saddest death, easily. Man, Gracia deserved to grow up with a father, and you could not have asked for a better. This is the best dad in anime, okay? Somehow Fullmetal has both the best dad in anime and the worst dad in anime. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. And yeah, Maze Hughes, S. If he would have lived the entire show, SS, but we're gonna have to give him S. All right, let's go with a little bit more minor of a character. How about Sig? I love Sig. That's it. Yeah, I love Sig. What a man. I guess when we're on Sig, let's also take Izumi. Izumi has to go in S tier. Absolutely fantastic female character once again. Fullmetal just did such an amazing job with female characters just all around the board. I mean, it probably helps with the fact that Arakawa is, you know, a woman herself, so she understands how to write women characters, and really just Izumi was fantastic. I don't know if I would like Izumi and Armstrong occupy the same thoughts in my mind of just like badass but also loving cool women, and there's who would I be to like knock any part of that, you know? All right, next up, let's take another homunculus. Let's take the controversy. Sure, I mean, I don't know if it's controversy. Let's take Envy. Hold on. Envy. This is a very hard character to place because, as I said in episode 54, whenever Envy died, my feelings toward Envy were complicated. And I know Envy is literally some people's favorite character, which is cool. And I can probably kind of see why. For me, Envy was a character that I enjoyed. I enjoyed Envy's role in the story, but some things were a little bit, I don't know. There's something about Envy that just didn't personally click with me in some ways, which is why I was left kind of mixed whenever episode 54 happened. Where would I put Envy on a term of personal enjoyment? I think I just have to put Envy in enjoyed. Like, this is a character that, like, of anybody in the list, if I have a character that's going to be like flexible and where they fit, it's going to be Envy. One of the most, for sure. Like, Envy could go up quite a lot, but Envy could also remain in place. So yeah, my feelings toward Envy are complicated. That's pretty much all I had to say about that, unfortunately. I know that might be disappointing for some. That's going to be the controversial person on the tier list. Maybe there's one more, and we all know who that is by now. But definitely, I just don't know. I really just don't know how to feel about Envy. I had mixed feelings at different parts of the show. Sometimes I loved Envy, sometimes I hated Envy. Sometimes I really appreciated Envy, sometimes I didn't. So I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't. Speaking of a character I don't appreciate, Cornello. I did not like Cornello. Of course, I'm gonna put him above Shao Tucker, but I feel like Cornello was, again, maybe one of the characters I thought was less well written, and that might have some credence to the fact that people said the first couple episodes of Brotherhood were not as fleshed out, right? Like, maybe Cornello was a better character in the original, assuming he was in the original. I didn't like Cornello. I found him to be a little bit corny, not thought out too well as a character. I don't know. Like, he served a purpose in the story, of course, but I don't really need to explain myself much more than that. I didn't really like Cornello. But somebody I did like that introduced early into the story was Dr. Marco. Dr. Marco is like a hidden MVP of this anime, a real hidden gem, a character that I enjoyed an unbelievable amount, like easily up here with Heinkel and Miles and Buccaneer. In fact, I'm actually going to put Marco I'm going to put Marco at the top of A tier. I know that might seem strong. Like, I loved Marco. I loved his dialogue with Ed in the earliest episodes we got him. I loved his role in the story, his relationship with Scar, his mentality that really, even though he thought he deserved to die, which, you know, maybe was somewhat true because of the things he did, he clearly cared about other people. He was trying to help the town that he was hiding in. He was trying to atone for himself. He didn't ever complain. And he had some really fantastic, like, out of nowhere moments, like whenever he really, like, almost fully killed Envy. That was so cool. Gotta be like a sleeper hit character of the show. There's a lot of sleeper hit characters, but, like, I love Dr. Marco. Okay, real underrated character for sure. You know what? Let's just get a couple characters I feel similarly about. Scar's brother, you know, I can't really put him any higher than enjoyed because he wasn't in the story that much, but I enjoyed him. You know, B tier, fantastically MVP for the series. A real character that is not on many people's radar that I love to death is Dr. Nox. I was gonna put Dr. Nox on S tier. Fight me, okay? You know what? I love the scenes that we got with Dr. Nox. I think Dr. Nox's family visiting him and, you know, having his son and his family tell them that they loved him, and him asking God to just enjoy the moment that he had with them, had to be like top 3 most, like, emotional that I felt at any one moment in the series. Like, I don't even know what it was, but I love this guy as a character. I love him. How could you not love Dr. Nox? There's everything to appreciate. He had no bad moments. They were all gold. So Dr. Nox gets high up. Next up is Sloth. Sloth is a character that I think the majority of us can probably agree on. I think Sloth was really cool conceptually, cool as a design, but, like, depth-wise, there wasn't too much to Sloth. The fight between Sloth and the Armstrongs was awesome. But as a character, as an individual, I enjoyed him. but there was not much. There was not enough. Okay, there was just not enough of him. So he's gonna go like right between the Zampano and Jerzo. Sloth was cool. I do wish we got more of him. I think this was a character we could have maybe gotten more explanation or just something on, but that's just how it goes, I guess, you know? Very simple, a little bit more flat, but a very imposing, threatening presence, which I enjoyed every single time. Gene Havoc. Gene Havoc, what a guy. Fantastic character. I'm gonna put him in fantastic. I really, you know, again, every moment with him was cool. He was a real cool personality, like the womanizer. He kind of reminded me of Maze Hughes, like a younger version of Maze Hughes. And even though he went through something awful, like being paralyzed, he was still able to like fulfill his role in the story in the end. I like the fact that he was able to play a role, and I like the fact that in the end he got better. I think, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been a few weeks since I saw the last episode, but I'm pretty sure he was able to recover, right? So cool character, you know, not a super utterly like mainstay presence that you have to like look and pay attention and think about a whole lot, but cool guy, cool character. I'm gonna put him up a little bit actually. Okay, let's just get this out of the way, because Scar is, I think I can fairly confidently say at this moment in time, Scar is my favorite Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood character. Please, Al, get out of the way. Scar is probably my favorite Fullmetal Alchemist character. I love Scar. Scar was introduced to us on episode 5. Scar is the antithesis of so much that this story is about. Scar has one of the most, if not the most, developed storylines, character arcs. He was with us basically the longest of almost anybody. He changed the most, and he was just the backbone of so many other plots, not just his own, with Roy, with the military, the Fuhrer, with Winry and her parents. There was just so much in Scar, and I loved him whenever he was a cold, badass killer, and I loved him whenever he was the man that sought to make a Amestris a better place in the end. I love Scar to death. There is not a... Scar blew me away like throughout the story. I kept thinking that like, wow, this character is really cool. I'm really glad we got him. And then there was something else. Something new came along and it was like, wow, that's awesome. And then there was more and more and more. And there was just so much more to love about Scar the whole way through. And the fight between Scar and Bradley in the end, I mean, come on, dude. Come on. How could you not love him? Scar is my favorite character, I think. It's not like by a large margin, but really so cool. And I don't think, you know, I mean, maybe you disagree, but it's hard to say. Like this, he's just so well written. I don't know. I love him. All right, let's go next with the Gold Tooth Doctor. I mean, as maybe character depth, probably doesn't deserve to be ranked, but also screw this guy. I'm gonna put him right here. Screw this guy. That's it. How about Sheska? What happened to Sheska? Sheska was one of the few characters that I felt like was forgotten. I'm gonna put Sheska in low enjoyed, because I did enjoy her, but like, where was she throughout almost all of the story? I mean, obviously not super important, but she was introduced early enough that it made me think that she had some relevance. It's kind of sad that we didn't get more of Sheska. It really is. Panina. Meh. Whatever. I mean, like, she was in episode 11. Episode 11 was probably my least favorite of the series. Not that it was bad or anything, but if I could say that Fullmetal had any filler, it would probably be episode 11, but it wasn't really filler. I'm not saying that with any sort of like certainty, because it wasn't. Like, there was a lot of personal character stuff, especially with Winry there. Where was Dominic? I like Dominic more. Give me Dominic on this tier list. I'm going to throw a couple other people down here in no opinion. Was it Slicer and Beto and Bosque Grand? I'm also going to put... I can't remember his name. I'm going to put him there. I'm going to also... Hey. Rebecca. She's hot, but as a character, not too much there. So we'll keep her in no opinion. But that's still my girl, so don't get it twisted. I will actually take the exception of I'm gonna rank Fallman, because Fallman, we got a little bit more of Fallman than some of the other characters. I think we got enough of Fallman to definitely rank him. I liked Fallman, I did. I'm gonna put him up here with Fu. Really like showed his stuff. Like, even though he was not the toughest guy ever, I think in the end he didn't back down to Bradley whenever Bradley was straight in front of him threatening his life. There's respect in that, you know. I appreciate him. I enjoyed him and I appreciate him. So good on you, Fallman. Good on you. Let's get a character controversy out of the way. The other one that goes along with envy is like characters that characters that are well loved that I personally had mixed feelings on is Kimberly. The one exception though is that even though I didn't know how to feel about Kimberly throughout the series, the more I thought about him and the more I kind of rewatched of some of the earlier episodes, I do appreciate Kimberly a little bit more than I did as I watched the show. I found a little bit, and this is, people are going to disagree with me, I felt a little bit inconsistent with some things that Kimberly said and thought, but ultimately I do enjoy the idea that he was inquisitive and stood by some level of moral and principle. You know, that's not so bad to me. I thought he was cool. Maybe I don't love him as much as other people. I'm going to put him in A tier, and maybe this is one of the characters that will go up as the more I watch the show. So we're going to keep Kimberly in A tier for now. Let me know what you think. I mean, maybe don't. Maybe don't. Just be easy on me, okay? I don't know. I can't love everybody right out the gate, you know. Mei Chang. Mei Chang is an absolutely lovely character. I love her. I'm going to put her in S tier along with some other fantastic characters. Mei Chang was a sweetheart. I like her role in the story, even though she wasn't super primary, but she did do a lot of really useful things. In fact, Mei Chang, honestly, kind of a low-key MVP. She saved Riza's life. She really did so much. Like, good on you, Mei Chang. Seriously. Lovely character, and I love her relationship with Alphonse. She was funny. I have no complaints. No complaints at all. Yoki. The Yoki, the one guy that goes between Scar and Alpha. No, I'm just kidding. Yoki was awesome though. Really a character that was set up for us to not like very much at all, that came back and was surprisingly decent by the end. I know it's kind of a meme, and I made some memes about Yoki talking about how great he was. I don't think he deserves to be in the fantastic character category, but I genuinely, I mean this, I enjoyed Yoki. I enjoyed Yoki as a character quite a bit. I'm gonna put him up here with like Fu. He was cool. And I think even Yoki, a character we were set up to dislike, had his moments, like hitting Salim with a car and standing up for people that weren't even necessarily his friends or cared about him too much. Like, this guy developed a little bit. So sure, like I have no problems with Yoki. I really don't. Oh boy. All right, we're down to the wire here. I'm gonna put Gracia and, or no, shit. Did I say Gracia? Is Gracia the daughter or the shit? Alicia, damn it. Oh man. Damn it, I just checked. I called the daughter Gracia. Gracia is his wife. Alicia is the daughter. Sorry, Alicia deserved to grow up with a father. I'm gonna put them in no ranking though, because, well, Alicia at least. I think Gracia actually had moments, especially speaking to Winry and Ed now, that I really liked. Kind of in a similar vein of Trisha. Fantastic woman, Gracia, but I'm gonna leave them in no opinion. So that's just that. Sorry about I got them mixed up. Okay, my bad. Father. God, this is a hard one, dude. This is a hard one, and I really am interested to see where you guys would put Father on a character tier list, because I would say if I'm uncertain where to put anybody, it would be Father. Because while I enjoyed him, I didn't enjoy him that much. I felt like I needed more on Father throughout the show. I don't know. Yeah, I really don't. I don't know if I needed more though. Like I really just, I'm really in a loop. I feel similarly about Kimberly as I do about Father. It's like, did I personally enjoy Father that much? No. Did Father have some crazy cool moments? Yes. especially episode 60 in the true form. Like episode 60 visually, it just takes the cake on the series. That was so insane. As a character though, I'll put him low A tier because primary antagonist, and I did enjoy a good part of him, but as an individual did I enjoy him? No, but we weren't supposed to. You know, it's kind of hard. I might actually, no, I don't know. I don't know. We're gonna keep him there though. And last, but very certainly not least, Führer King Bradley. I can say with absolute certainty that Führer King Bradley is my favorite of the homunculi and of the antagonist in the series. I love Bradley a lot. Okay, I'm gonna put Bradley like right here. I think what an absolutely sick character. So cool. Like from his lines to his presence on the screen was just so assertive. He was there every time Bradley was on the screen. He owned the scene. The only time when he didn't is when he stood like toe to toe with Scar. I love Bradley, and he only got cooler throughout the whole show, especially in the Promise Day. He blew me away. It just blew me away completely. I just love him to damn death. I mean, oh god, like what a cool character. The coolest character. The coolest character in the show for sure. I love him. Also, I'm just now noticing that there is no Greedling on this list. So I would say like Greedling, if you want the mixture, I'm gonna also put an SS tier. I'm gonna put him probably like even right here. Ling Yao and Greedling, I guess, are kind of one and the same, but you know what I mean. I love Greedling. So we need to put that out there. So I'll zoom out on this. This is my final character tier list spot. These are my absolute favorites. Protect them at all cost. I love them to death. These guys also 100% love them. Totally love them. These characters, every time they were on the screen, I enjoyed them. Everything that they inputted were pretty awesome. Most of these are not primary characters though to me, so I'm not going to keep them too high up. These are characters I just generally enjoyed. Characters I didn't really think one way or another about, and characters I didn't like. And then these characters, you know, they were too minor for me to rank. Let me know what you guys think. In fact, I'm going to issue this officially. I will actually grab this tier maker and I'll link it in the video description, both on Patreon and on YouTube. Create your list, and if you want to, you can tweet it at me at CastSenpai on Twitter or at my Instagram account. I'll show them both here. I'll link all of those in the descriptions, of course. Just tweet your character tier list at me and let me know what you think. Tell me what you think of mine, of course. I just want to see everybody else's, see where the community generally stands. Of course, please be respectful of this. This is my opinion after watching the show the first time. And like I said, I base this more on who I enjoyed personally, right? Like not objectively about character ranking, because I think objectively some of these characters could go up and down, you know, but yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching me throughout this entire series. This has been an unbelievably wild ride. It was my first series on the channel. There was so much to it. This recording is going on for nearly 2 hours. Ridiculous. Might be my longest video I've made yet, but that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for the Full Metal stuff. There will probably be one Patreon exclusive video for Full Metal after this, but that pretty much does it. I just want to say again, thank you so much. Thanks for joining me. I hope you guys join me for future series. I can't believe this moment is here. Like I almost just don't know what to say. I've said it all plenty of times. Thank you everybody who's reached out to me individually, who's followed me on anything, who's left nice, kind comments. I would not do these videos if you guys weren't as unbelievably supportive as you have been in the comments throughout every single episode from beginning to end. So some people made me smile like crazy. Some people made my day with the things they said, and I really want to thank you for that. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next journey. Take care.